Welcome to datascience.show, the podcast where data science meets executive leadership. We talk with top AI and analytics thought leaders about turning data into real business impact. If you're a C-level leader or data expert shaping the future, you're in the right place.
2 weeks after a major rollout, a scoring model started denying customers, not because the model changed, but because a table lost a column. The downstream team logged 2,000 false denials over 3 days, and the business lost 6 figures before anyone knew why. I'm Mirko Peters, and this is why data contracts matter. We explore how data science and AI drive real business impact, straight from the leaders making it happen. Today, I want to talk about something quietly transformative: data contracts. Not a legal paper shuffle, but operational agreements that turn fuzzy expectations into enforceable rules. By the end, you'll have a practical roadmap and clear metrics an executive sponsor should measure. Across dozens of engagements, I see the same failure modes. Models that suddenly change behavior in production, dashboards that stop matching reality, and long debates about who should have noticed. Those are not purely technical problems. They're breakdowns in accountability and expectation setting. Data contracts are the organizational tool that stops that chain reaction. Think of 2 executive perspectives: the head of analytics, who needs predictable, fresh data for scoring, and the platform lead, who must keep pipelines cost-effective and resilient. Without a compact way to express and enforce expectations, projects slow down and risk accumulates. Contracts give both sides a clear, auditable playbook.
Let's put this simply. A data contract is an agreement between the team producing data and the team using it.
What does it cover? Schema, freshness and completeness SLAs, access rules, and lineage. The things an auditor or a model owner needs to trust a feed. Why does that matter? Because executives read SLAs, not engineering tickets. They need measurable KPIs, not wishful notes. Contracts come in flavors. Schema contracts define fields and types. SLA contracts set freshness, latency, and completeness bounds. Access contracts set who can use or move data and under what controls. Lineage contracts require an auditable trail from source to model input. Mix and match depending on risk and business value. Map every contract to a decision. Ask, what decision does this data enable? If a dataset feeds credit approvals, freshness and completeness matter more than minor schema extras. If it's a monthly BI feed, tolerances widen. The contract should say which errors are acceptable and exactly what happens when the SLA is missed, who is paged, how reconciliation runs, and whether a downstream workflow pauses. Converting an agreement into enforcement requires 3 platform capabilities: validation at ingest, real-time observability, and controlled change propagation. Validation catches schema mismatches and simple quality rules as data enters the system. Observability shows trends, increasing nulls, unusual cardinality shifts, latency spikes, and ties those signals back to SLA windows. Controlled change propagation gives you a versioned contract, compatibility checks, and a notification workflow so consumers explicitly accept or roll back changes. Let me give you 3 concrete examples.
Fraud scoring pipelines need tight latency and completeness guarantees. If transaction timestamps arrive late, scores flip and money is lost immediately. These systems require synchronous validation, immediate alerts to model owners, and a policy that can cut traffic or fail over to a fallback model automatically.
Customer 360 pipelines tolerate eventual consistency, but lineage and provenance are essential for personalization and compliance. You want enforced lineage and clear ownership so you can trace any profile change back to its source. Supply chain forecasts benefit from stable historical coverage. Overly strict contracts that block schema evolution slow business changes. Overly lax contracts let bad data silently shift forecasts. A staged enforcement model works. Monitor new feeds lightly, make SLAs strict for production forecasts, and define exception paths for supplier outages. Sounds strict? Good. That means we can measure it. So who owns contracts? Real ownership sits with the data product owner, the business-aligned leader accountable for the outcome the data serves. Platform teams provide enforcement, legal and security supply policy guardrails, and an executive sponsor keeps incentives aligned. Fund contracts from product budgets, not as a cross-team tax. When consumers pay for higher SLAs or product owners get funded for guaranteed fees, incentives align and contracts are respected.
Measure success in business terms. Track SLA compliance rate, mean time to detect and resolve contract breaches, percentage of models with contract-linked inputs, and business impact metrics like reduced false positives in fraud or improved forecast accuracy. Translate these into dollars or operational KPIs.
For example, target 99.9% SLA compliance for scoring pipelines, reduce mean time to detect from 48 hours to under 4 hours, and aim to cut fraud false positives by 20%, which in one mid-sized bank I worked with translated to roughly $1.2 million saved annually. Looking ahead, automation is the next frontier. Automated contract discovery, continuous compliance checks, and policy as code that prevents breaking changes in CI/CD. Contracts also make third-party model consumption safer. If you can assert and verify an input contract for a vendor model, you catch mismatches before they hit decisions. But automation is a tool, not a substitute for clear accountability. Invest in both, platform controls and governance processes that keep contracts alive and reviewed.
Curious, if you're an executive wondering exactly what to do next, take 2 concrete steps for the next 90 days.
First, pick 2 high-value data products, one customer-facing and one operational, and define minimum viable contracts for each, schema, freshness SLA, and a remediation playbook. Second, appoint an executive sponsor and fund a focused platform sprint to automate validation and observability for those contracts. Make the sprint outcome auditable results, not perfect coverage.
No surprises, no blame.
Contracts change the question from who broke it to did we meet the contract? If we did, treat it as an incident to fix. If we didn't, trigger remediation and a controlled rollback path. That clarity restores trust and frees teams to focus on product innovation instead of firefighting.
That's the difference between models and value.
If you found this episode useful, subscribe and share it with your network. And let's connect on LinkedIn. I'm Mirko Peters. We'll be back with more conversations on how data science and AI create real business impact. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to datascience.show. If you found value in this episode, subscribe, share it with your network, and join us next time as we explore how data science drives smarter decisions and better business outcomes.